Hello everyone, so I have this quick project that I wanted to share with all of you. I really wasn't planning on doing this video, but I had to do this challenge project for Carabelle, kind of a last minute thing, and so this is just something that I had to do really quick. And again, I wasn't going to plan on doing a video, but I thought maybe you might get some ideas from this little project that I did. So I thought I'd go ahead and share it with all of you. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a background on some Bristol paper. Lately, I have been a big, huge fan of Bristol paper, and I'm going to be running back to Michael's, getting more of it for sure, because my main reason is lately I've been doing a lot of coloring with the watercolor pencils and even layering them with watercolors or acrylics. And I have found that the Bristol paper holds up really well, and it has a really nice surface for, when you're coloring with watercolors or acrylics or pencils or whatever it might be. So I highly recommend for mixed media type projects using the Bristol paper. Watercolor paper and acrylic paper is a really heavy type paper, and those are wonderful too. The main thing with the Bristol paper is it has a really nice smooth texture, and everything just seems to blend really nicely on this paper. So that's the main reason why I love this paper so much. Okay, so what you see me doing here is I am taking one of my stamp designs, and this is the postcard one that this one I think everybody loved this one because it's such a great background stamp to have. It's got some script in it, it's got the butterflies, and it is something that you can incorporate into, whatever project you might be doing. So for example, this project that I'm going to show you is of a fairy. It's going to be whimsical, but this fits in, it ties in with it. If you're going to be doing something with more of a vintage feel, you could use that background stamp. It's just a lovely stamp. And as you can see, I just took little sections of it and I stamped around the edge. So that's what I did first. Now this next stamp that I'm going to use is also a Carabelle stamp. Another one of my favorites, and you'll see why, because it's got the dragonflies, the butterflies, it's got the text in the background. I love this stamp, and it is one of my top sellers, I have to say. And again, you'll see why. It's a beautiful stamp. I absolutely love it. And so what I'm going to do is, for this piece of the Bristol paper, I'm just going to stamp that entire piece with this stamp. And I started with one piece of Bristol paper. I believe it was 11 by 14 inches, and I cut it into 3 pieces. I did not measure this. I just kind of eyeballed it to where I wanted to create a square background piece, and then have a smaller square for that second layer, which is what I'm working on here, and then a longer rectangular piece for my fairy. Now, unfortunately, I must have not turned on the camera when I merged the 2 stamps together. So I'm going to explain in advance here. What I did is I took my fairy stamp, and you'll see which one it is, and then I have this mannequin stamp that's kind of like a fairy, like mannequin dress with a butterfly. And I merged those 2 stamps together. So what I did is I stamped the fairy stamp down first, and then I just kind of positioned that mannequin dress below her to where I felt I could sketch out and color in sections of it to make it look like that was actually, all incorporated just to be one fairy in this mannequin dress. I hope I explained that in a way you can understand. Okay, so here's my 2 background pieces, and then here is where I have my fairy / mannequin dress. Now you can see where I went ahead and took my pencil and I did sketch down a little bit, just trying to create a real loose sketch of how I wanted to kind of sculpt that dress so it all was proportioned correctly to the fairy stamp that I used at the top there. And you know, this was something that I came up with when I had both of these stamps were laying on my desk. And when I saw them laying on top of each other and I went to put them away in my little stamp bin, that's how the idea came, because the way it was laying on the table, I was like, oh, that looks like that could be her dress. And so I thought, I'm actually going to stamp this. I thought, again, it would be a great challenge project and incorporate this as her dress into creating a unique mixed media piece of art. Now, the coloring that I did on this, I unfortunately did not have the time that I would have liked, and I was in panic mode. And being in panic mode, I kind of rushed it a little more than what I would have liked, and so I just didn't put any thought into when I was coloring this. I was just like trying to hurry. So again, that was another reason why I thought maybe I wouldn't share this, but I felt, again, with this video in particular, that it might help challenge you guys into thinking out of the box. So if you have some stamps, and let's say you may not even like these stamps, and I've done other projects kind of similar where, you know, trying to challenge you into taking some of your stamps and just using parts of that stamp and incorporating them together, merging them together to create one piece of artwork. And so it's fun to do, because I found with this, it also helps me with my drawing skills and sketching and coming up with new ideas. Because one of the ways that I come up with my ideas is, for any of you who might do sketching, you know that when you start to do it, you'll have just loose scribbles here and there. And within those scribbles, you see things. You might see a flower. You might see a butterfly. You might see part of a dress. And that's how things develop in, you know, creating your artwork, or at least that's how it works for me. So when you take your stamps, let's say, and you just kind of lay them down a certain way, you can take that very easily and loosely sketch around sections of the stamp to create a whole other piece of artwork. And yeah, it's just, I think it's fun, and I find it's very relaxing, except for in this case, like I said, I was rushed. And sometimes my best work isn't when I'm trying to rush and do something. And so what you see me doing here is I'm just trying to, again, kind of whiten out some of those lines and make it look like it's, you know, actually a dress that was made for her, for this fairy. And as you see, as I go along here, I don't know, I think I was getting tired. I started this late at night, 11, 12 o'clock, because, you know, this was Paris time that we're talking here. And I didn't find out until around 11 or so at night that I had to get this done and I had to get it in. And so in looking back and doing this video, I'm just like, why didn't I just leave that alone? Why did I mess with that? Some of my lines that I end up doing later on, I am not that happy with them. And you'll see that because I tried to take the dragonfly at the end and cover it up. I will admit it. It just was an area that I struggled with. And I think at the time my eyes were kind of going cross-eyed, because I think when I finished it was like 3 or something in the morning, and then I had to take pictures, and then I had to send them to Carabelle, and then they had to get them up on the site. And oh my gosh, by the time I went to bed, it was like 4:35 o'clock. My husband was waking up for work. And yeah, but again, I think with each one of these, there's always something that you can learn from it. It's a process, it's a journey. And sometimes in doing these, like, they give you ideas for other things. So, I didn't think that it would hurt to share with you this project. But what I'm doing here now is I'm starting with the ARTEZA watercolor pencils, and I'm just trying to get down kind of some base colors here. So blue for her hair, purple for the wings, and again, I don't know, I was tired, I was panicking, and I just did not put in any sort of thought as to how I wanted the dress, as far as what color, hair, all of that. I was just grabbing stuff and going to town. But as you'll see, there's so many things that you can do when you're coloring, for example, and even if you mess up, later here you'll see I have some colors going on that I hate. And again, I think because I was doing this in a panic mode, it wasn't coming together like I liked. I didn't like it at all. I wanted to take it and I wanted to throw it in the garbage. I really did. I liked how the stamps came together. I liked that part of it, but it was the coloring process, it wasn't working for me. And this is another thing I wanted to show you, that, there are ways to make it work. So if you're going along and you're like, oh my God, I have this huge mess. Let's say my colors, they got all muddied. I have some funky colors here and I don't like them. I'll show you what I do to kind of correct that, because there is a way. And one of my things that I was visualizing, or that I thought I would want, is not to do anything too vibrant. I was kind of going for more of a muted look. That's how it started anyways. And then I was introducing other colors and it started getting vibrant. And then I just had this mash of colors that I just, like I said, I was not happy with. And I show you how I fixed that. So that's one other thing that you might be able to take from this video. And the thing that I loved when doing the butterfly wings there is when I did take and I started with the purple pencil, and then I had used I think it was the burnt umber pencil, I was able to move the color around to create the veins in that butterfly wing for the fairy, and I really liked the way that looked. Now here I'm taking orange, and you probably heard like that gasp there. Orange is, well, it's not my favorite color. I don't know why I grabbed orange. I really don't, other than the fact that I like to work off of the opposite end of the color wheel. I like contrast, so that's why I would do that. And that's the only reason I can think of why I was grabbing orange as opposed to, I was thinking with pink, I just didn't want the pink, purple, blue type thing, and I wanted something more stark of a contrast, so I grabbed orange. However, with orange, when you're working with gray tones and browns next to orange, especially gray, you have to be careful, because you'll see it can create this muddy look, and it's not pretty, especially on a fairy. It's really not pretty. So here I'm taking kind of more of that purple pink and introducing some of that, just trying to figure out where I'm going with this. And I mean, usually that's how it is with a lot of the projects that I do. I normally don't have it pre-planned, but I don't usually have like this strict timeline or deadline. And with this one, I did, and I don't know. I guess I'll just wait to hear your comments. I don't mind doing videos of things that I'm not happy with, and you can see behind the scenes of things that I've totally messed up, or projects that I just feel they need a little more something something. Yeah, just let me know. With the last video that I did, well, I did the last two videos, the ledger papers and the little gnomes. I have to say, I loved reading the comments, and I mention this a lot as far as comments go, because without comments, I really have no feedback, or I don't have any way of knowing what all of your thoughts are. And so it really helps me in creating content for my channel, or, you know, should I post a video? I have lots of things that I've actually done videos on, but I haven't published them because I kept thinking, oh, they're not going to like this, or they won't be interested, or I'm going to bore them to death. Why waste my time? Because the video edits take so much time to do. And so that's why I'm always stressing, like, leave me comments, let me know, because I have a lot of videos. I just haven't put them out there, thinking maybe, you know, it's just not something that you would be interested in. So you all let me know that you loved the coloring videos and demos and the mixed media projects, as well as the journal projects, and you like the variety, because as I was explaining, you know, with journals, you're able to take and implement so many things into your journal. And really, if I decide to take just this top layer and use just this fairy and maybe incorporate it in a different way and put it on an envelope or put it on a tag and throw it in a journal, it probably, you know, I'd probably like it. I'd probably think, oh my gosh, this adds so much to my journal. Especially I could see this in something like the fairy journal that I'm wanting to do. And I'm working on new collections that will have a fairy thing to them. So yeah, this will be, you know, this will be something that maybe I might do that with in the future. And I might take the dragonfly off that I was trying to cover an area I wasn't happy with, and I might rework that section and come back to it later. So, you know, in doing the video, it's kind of a journal entry of itself, in that you're seeing this now, and I might come back with it later, and I'm going to say I might, because I'm never sure, but I might come back with it and show you all how I incorporate this into a journal, or use it some different way, or how I might have changed something with it. And then you can see that some of these things that you might not necessarily like, there's ways of using them or incorporating them into something to where, you know, it's something that you do end up liking. So now what I'm doing is, after I took my white pen and I kind of carved out more of the dress to where it fit the proportion of the fairy's head, I'm taking my black pen and just drawing in some darker lines so I can get more definition there and really be able to see where, you know, I'm going to be adding the color and paint and everything to her dress. And you know, this also helps with where I need to apply shading and so forth. And, you know, in looking at this stage, again, there's parts where sometimes I mess with things just too much and I should just leave it alone. And I overworked an area, and you'll see that. I'll show you where I did that. But yeah, again, you know, it was late and I was working with really tired eyes, and now I have, you know, I'm not tired and I have a fresh set of eyes. And you see things differently. Sometimes it really helps if you're struggling with something to just set it aside, don't mess with it. Don't just keep messing with it and thinking, I'm going to do this until it looks right. Just set it aside. Maybe take a day or two and then come back to it. And you'll be able to see what it was that you needed to change, that you couldn't quite put your finger on, or what it might need as far as color or more detail and so forth. And that's what I should have done, but I didn't have that option because, again, this was something I had to have in a few hours, and so it had to get done. And I just kind of said, well, this is it. This is just, with the time that I have, this is the best I'm able to do. And I had to be happy with, with what I was able to accomplish in the time and so forth. So I didn't think it was a complete disaster, don't get me wrong. It's just not something where I looked at it and thought, oh, this is my best work. And now I'm adding in yellow and orange again, two colors that I would probably never use, and I'm not sure where I was going or what I was thinking, but I think I wanted more of a peachy color, and I don't know if I just wasn't able to find a good peach color in the pencils, and I was trying to combine the two to get that. But yeah, you'll see, I'm just like, there's certain colors. I introduced some brown here, and this is where it just started getting ugly, like really ugly. I just wanted to keep these muted tones. I didn't want it to get too bright, so I was trying to add in the brown to kind of mute everything down, and I just kind of ended up with a mess. But again, I will show you how I address this and try to fix it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on some music, let you all follow along. You can watch the entire process. You can fast forward and, just see what it is to the end. But, this is a great time to just maybe grab a cup of coffee, take a break, just kind of relax, and you can just follow along. And then, I'll be back to explain the rest of the process. while I'm letting that dry, I went to work on my background here, and I'm using some distress sprays in broken china and abandoned coral, and I also spray over with some of the pearls in the gold color. And I loved the gold shimmer from the Perfect Pearls spray. You'll see, it just adds this beautiful shimmer. It reminds me of, like, you know, fairy dust and all of that. And you can see how it kind of shines when the light hits it. It's so pretty. And to bring out some more vivid colors, I used some dye ink, and this is ink that you would use to refill your inkjet cartridges. I found out about this when I was researching inks, and I found out that this is a dye ink which was similar to, like, when you buy the water brushes with the colored inks in them. This is similar to that, I found, and it's very affordable. A bottle of this will last me so long. But as you can see, the way that it interacts with distress inks and the distress sprays, it just creates this really beautiful effect, and you have these vibrant colors that just kind of pop up from the page. And so I took and used the yellow dye ink color, and now I'm just using some of the tea dye spray, and I'm just working in more of these colors to create this, you know, fairy-like fantasy background. And I was taking a spray bottle there with just water and spraying it down to kind of get the colors to blend and run a little bit. Now I'm taking some of that dye ink in the purple and introducing some of that purple color to it. And then I think I also take, there was two purples. One had red undertones and the other had blue undertones. So I ended up using both the red and the blue toned purple, which is there. You could see that on the right side. But they're very vibrant and they just add a lot. And I love the way that they interact with the distress inks. They're just so cool in creating mixed media backgrounds. You could do this on your tags, envelopes, papers so easily. I mean, it just took a few seconds to create a background like this because I'm just taking and doing a few squirts of the distress inks and then adding in a few drops of the ink dye. And again, you can take your distress ink oxides, do the same technique with those. And so now that my fairy, now that she's nice and dry, I'm adding in some detail with my black liner pen, bringing in some of those finer details, defining everything. And it really makes a big difference, this final step of using, you know, the black pen to draw out and bring out some of that detailing that might be lost when you start coloring. And then of course the highlights. And as with most demos that I do when I'm coloring, this is something that I always do. I'm always taking my black pen and going and, you know, just adding in those finer details and then taking my white gel pen and adding in the highlights. And I also end up using my white acrylic paint to add in highlights as well. As you can see, and this is what I was talking about earlier, I have some of these really funky colors going on. And let's face it, it's, you know, they're just not pretty. They're not pretty for this fairy, but I wanted these muted colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my white acrylic paint. This will do a couple of things. It will add in some highlights depending upon where I put it. And so I'm adding some highlights to the hair. But on some of those areas that I'm not liking where there's, you know, those brownish tones happening, you'll see it'll brighten it up, and yet it'll keep things more subtle as far as not being too vibrant, because I really didn't want these super vibrant colors on this fairy. I really wanted more of a muted effect, but I still wanted to keep the fairy colors, you know, the pinks and purples and so forth. So as you can see, when I add the white acrylic paint over that, it just kind of brightens things up a little bit to make it where it's not quite so ugly as far as the color goes. And so that's one thing that you can do if you find that you've used marker, as long as it's water soluble, even with your alcohol inks. And you'll see in previous videos that I've done where I did some stamping and I got a black mark or something I didn't want, and so I take my white acrylic paint and I just go over it. And as you can see, it's starting to shape up with that white acrylic paint. I did find that I tried some of the heavy body acrylic paint from Hobby Lobby. You know, it was 50% off. I think everything that was Master's Touch brand was 50% off, so I thought I would give them a try. And I actually really liked them. They had a really nice consistency, texture, everything. They were easy to work with. And they were thick bodied, but not to the point of where they were so, or I should say heavy bodied. They weren't so heavy bodied that it left a lot of texture on the page. But as you can see, when I'm using the paint, this acrylic paint, I'm really brushing it out, blending it in, because I really don't want any fine lines on, you know, on this, whatever you want to call it, work of art. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little hard on myself. I guess I'm not used to rushing things that I do. I usually have the time that I need to do a piece to where I can put in the time and be happy with it. And so this is a good lesson to see how I work under pressure, how I work when I'm panicked. Yeah, it's, you know, like I said, it's not that it was a complete disaster. It's just, I really struggled. And the areas where I struggled is on that upper part of the dress. I just couldn't get it to where it looked right to me. I really struggled with it. And when I'm, you know, not going off a reference or anything, it just wasn't looking right to me. I mean, I just, if I had the time, like I said earlier, I would have just taken it, put it off to the side, maybe given it a day, even the following day. And now in watching the video, I can see exactly what I would need to do. So I'll probably take this and redefine some areas of the dress. But for now, because I did have to get this project submitted, I just covered it up with the dragonfly. If you're ever wanting to cover up a mistake, yeah, there's lace. You'll see I've used lots of lace. You could use another element, a piece of ephemera. There's so many things that you can do. If you find there's a part of your artwork that you're just not liking, you could cover it up with a sentiment. There's so many things that you could do to cover up things you don't want people to see. But I'm being a little vulnerable here and showing you all, you know, that when you're working on something and you're feeling frustrated, you know, don't throw it in the garbage. If at all possible, just don't throw it in the garbage. Just set it aside for a day. Maybe you'll find that, you know, you'll be able to take a part of something and you don't have to throw the whole thing away, or you can find a way to collage with it. It just seems like if you invest time into something that you're working on, you know, it seems like a shame to throw it in the garbage. And most of the time I would say 99% of the time, I will not throw something in the garbage. But there is that 1% where it's just so horrifically, terribly bad that there's just no saving it. Yeah, it has to go in the garbage. All right. Well, I'm liking the colors much better. I think it looks way, way better. It's really what I was going for. I don't have those ugly brown tones now, or brown colors standing out and, you know, screaming at me. I just hated those colors. But, you know, the white acrylic paint is something that I tend to reach for quite often, and I like to have those undertones underneath showing through, and it's that layering process, like I was mentioning earlier. That layering is what just makes everything so, you know, eye-catching to the eye, and it loses something if you don't have all those layers. So yeah, I just wish I could have spent a little more time. Now, one thing I did notice is, again, my camera, it either shut off, it goes on this power saving mode thing, and sometimes I don't always catch it. And I did lose the last part of the filming. So what I ended up doing, or what wasn't being shown in the video, is I took this gold shimmer pen. It's a Jane Davenport brush pen, but it's got this gold sparkle in it, and I noticed the Hobby Lobby started to carry them. So if you can, you know, use a coupon for 40% off, it's something I highly recommend. It's a beautiful, beautiful pen, and the gold shimmer from it and the color of the gold, it's just beautiful. So at the very end of this, I do include a picture of how it looks with that gold shimmer pen, where I put it on the dress form part of that dress, that middle section there. And then I also added a little bit into the wing and onto the flowers, and it just gave it that added touch that I felt it needed. All right, so I think right about this time I was really stressing because I had to have it done. I had Anna with Carabelle asking, you know, where's the project? I need it. And in my mind, I'm just kind of like freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, this just isn't even close to done. And with anything that I do, I try to do it to the absolute best of my abilities. But truly, with the time that I had, I did put in the work to the best of my abilities. And with feeling that panic and stress, yeah. And, you know, overall, I am happy with the way that it turned out. I think it turned out really neat to be able to take my designs and incorporate them together. And like I said, I'll probably take this and work on it more when I do have time and come back and show all of you. I'm thinking a journal cover with this would be really cool, but we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing with it. So again, I'm just kind of, yeah, quickly adding in some of those extra little details with the black pen and then going through with the white pen, and we're just zipping through, putting those final touches together. So what I think might be fun is Carabelle already did the challenge, and they were going to give away some prizes. And I know I have my giveaway that I'm doing here in 10 days on the 15th. I have 3 mystery boxes that I will be giving away. And so you still have time to enter. But I'm thinking, I'd love to hear your comments. If you want to do a challenge with this sort of project, let me know, and I will do a really, really big surprise. Because I'm thinking, you know, if you're going to take time to do a project, well, then that deserves a really big prize. And I already know what it would be. And you all would just love it. I'll give you a hint. It is something that I own, that I use all the time. And yeah, it would be something really, really nice. I truly feel that, you know, if you're going to do the work in doing this challenge, again, it deserves to be a really good prize. So the challenge again would be, you have to take my fairy stamp here, and you could use whatever other stamp you want, and you have to incorporate something with her to make one piece of art. So if you're interested, let me know, leave a comment, and I'll get everything set up and we will do that giveaway. And I do have some of the stamps in stock so you could get them right away, but I would make sure that if I did need to place an order for more, you'd have plenty of time to do your project. All right, so yeah, that upper section of the dress there, I just did not like it at all. And I think just because, again, I'm totally in panic mode, I just, I couldn't think about it, and I couldn't really, I couldn't do it the way that I wanted to. But that's why I covered it up. You'll see where I totally take and just cover it up. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to distress my edges here pretty quickly, and there's just a few things I wanted to cover before this video ends, and that is the journal workshop. So I was planning on doing that. I was going to work on it, but then this came up and I had to get this done. So I am going to be working on the journal workshop. I'll be filming tomorrow and the next few days, getting everything ready, and I hope to have it published on Friday. So for those of you who have been waiting and anticipating this journal workshop, I hope to have it again published on Friday, Saturday, around there, and it should be lots of fun. I'm going to start with the cover and making the cover, and then building signature pages, and then really going into how to decorate and dress up some of those signature pages. And as you can see, I'm still working on my fairy. I'm taking a thicker black pen this time and just going back in and adding in more detailing. Like I said, I just really wanted to spend more time on this, but yeah, I went over as it was. But I hope you did get some ideas in watching this, as far as taking your stamps and merging them together, and also how you can create some beautiful backgrounds using those ink dyes. And you can create your own watercolor brushes with those as well. So yeah, this is where I was just like, I have to call it good. And that's where my mind was racing, thinking I'll just take the dragonfly and yeah, we'll have to cover her up. So now I'm just going to take some foam tape and kind of just adhere those temporarily. And I took a picture, submitted it to Carabelle. And again, what I didn't get shown in the video, because I think my camera turned off, was where I took gold pen and added some metallic gold shimmer to the dress form and to her wing, just to add that little extra pop of shimmer there. And then I'm just putting these words, sentiments, Tim Holtz sentiments, and I thought it'd be kind of cute to do the dreams, etc. Except I do mine with a Z, but yeah, I thought it was still kind of cool. Yeah, so if you liked this video, let me know. So all those videos that I do that I wouldn't necessarily upload, I'll be more than happy to upload those to my channel. And if you're interested in doing the challenge, again, leave a comment and let me know, because it will be a really, really good prize. I'm telling you guys would love it. And not only, that, but it would be lots of fun. So yeah, let me know. Just leave the comment below and I will get it set up. And so yeah, hopefully I'll catch you all back with my next video. Thank you so much for watching.